Hey, it's Central Valley Business. I'm your host, Steve Walling. My guest for this segment is the DA, the District Attorney from Kings County, Keith Fagundes, right? Did I pronounce that right?
That's right. That's perfect.
Welcome to the show,
perfect.
Keith.
Thank you.
So it's election season, and there's a lot of stuff going on. But you've been the DA now for 3 years, and you're running again for hopefully that they're going to think you're absolutely incredible, and they're going to come out in droves. But let's talk about the last 3 years. What's been happening in your, in the DA's office, Kings County, for the last 3 years?
Well, 3 years ago we ran a very credible campaign, identified a lot of issues that we saw, but we also identified the ways that we knew how to solve them. And I'd been a prosecutor for 15, 16 years, so I kind of knew the business. I was a private attorney for a couple years, so that gave me the ability to look at the human side of prosecution. And so I had a good balance coming back to it. But we identified a whole bunch of issues that were at hand. But it's not good enough just to poke at the other guy. So
right.
We have to show what we can do better. In the last 3 years, we have gone above and beyond. The whole team has just come together. We started off at the first of the year, and we noticed that there were first of all, we couldn't tell how many cases of backlog we had because the computer system just hadn't been run very well, and just the office in general had bad procedures. So we stripped it down. We brought the team together for the first 6 months, and
right.
we did just a global overhaul of what's going on here. We looked at what worked, what didn't work. We looked at who was working and who wasn't working. We dealt with all those issues. We, in the first year, went paperless because in this digital age, you really cannot function with thousands of cases in the old paper way. Things
right.
got lost. It was just bad procedures. We fixed that. We went paperless. And then we saw that the computer system at hand just wasn't working. So
right.
we bought a new computer system. About a year and a half into it, we discovered that there were about 2,900 cases held over from the last administration, just not sent to court, which is horrible.
They're just
horrible.
sitting there.
Just sitting there waiting to go to court. So we repurposed some staff with the new computer system we had. We were able to whittle that number down to 0 at the end of the year. And
That's
right now,
excellent.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I don't take credit for it. I give it to the staff who
Right.
pulled together. We also discovered, by virtue of pulling things together and being able to watch things with the computer system, that 1,800 cases were sitting with various attorneys waiting to be reviewed to go to the clerks to go to court. So we whittled that number down to just 200 at the end of the year and spread over 20 attorneys. That's really not bad. We could knock that stuff out in a couple days. But what we really wanted to focus on was, how do we service the community? How are we doing for victims?
Right.
So in 2015, we also created and took over the Victim Witness Program in Kings County. It used to be under probation. With their added duties under Prop 47,
Keith, what is the Victims Witness Program? What is that?
Well, it's a program that focuses on working with the state and getting victims any compensation they need. A lot of times victims of crimes really don't even have money to bury their loved ones.
Right.
So we step in, we provide them funds, we provide them resources to get medical attention, to go ahead and get funeral expenses even, and then we work with the state to try to get reimbursement on what we can. So we have a phenomenal team down there. Julia Patino is the coordinator. She came over in July of 2015. We brought the whole unit over, and it's just been phenomenal since then. Our public outreach for teen dating violence, human trafficking, child gun safety, all these other things.
I'm going to stop you right here because I've had several people over the last several months talking about the subject of human trafficking. Now, I was like totally oblivious until the topic came up. But here in the Central Valley, that's not a little issue, is it? It's
not. Nationwide, it's a multi-billion-dollar issue for criminal street gangs and other people. It is, globally, it's a huge issue.
Right.
And our federal government doesn't tackle it globally, and our federal government doesn't really pay much attention to it locally.
Yeah.
And our state government just wants to ignore it all. So
it kind of leaves it to you, doesn't it?
It leaves it to the counties, and luckily in my county we have a great group of police chiefs, we have a great sheriff, we have a great board of supervisors who all pitch in, and we devote whatever resources we need to. We found that we had a 17-year-old who was actually organizing young 12-year-olds for sexual gratification to others for money. So we ended up sending her to prison for 13 years.
Yeah.
And we're not shy to tackle those tough issues because it's not popular to try to convince somebody and prosecute somebody who's 17 for adult-type crimes.
Oh, they're just a kid.
It is. In theory it is, but functionally and practically, she really was a monster.
Yeah.
She ruined the lives of countless young girls
That's
for
true.
no good reason. So
But you were able to address that, move forward in a positive manner. What about the young girls then? Now, do they fall into that victim program, or
They do, and what we do is we coordinate with various other entities within our county and also here in Fresno. Breaking the Chains here in Fresno is a phenomenal group who provide counseling and other housing services
Right.
for victims so that they can rehabilitate, after being rescued from the tragic essence of human trafficking. It's just horrible.
Yeah. So you've had a pretty fulfilling and pretty filled 3 years as your position at the DA in Kings County.
That is true. As a lawyer, I could sit here for hours and talk about all that we've accomplished. It is phenomenal where our investigative team has gone. They too do public outreach for things such as active shooter response training for any business, any time, any place.
Right.
And we created and brought on a canine drug sniffing unit there, and we have helped CDCR with countless drug stings to stop the drugs from coming into prison. We have just seen an expansion in the services that the DA provides, far beyond just going to court and finding somebody guilty or not guilty.
Excellent,
And
Keith.
it's phenomenal what my team is doing down there.
Now we're looking at another evolution. We're up for election. What do you have? What's your vision? What's on the horizon?
Well, in the short term, we're going to continue to fulfill our victim services obligation to our community. In fact, next month we're having it declared Victims' Rights Month, and we're starting from April 9th through the end of that week with various activities. April 9th, we're doing a kickoff at our Civic Auditorium, which with a balloon release, we honor all the victims who have deceased in the last year, and we've made a quilt, and we go back to 1982, I believe, with all these quilts. We'll just be displaying all of these quilts, honoring the victims who have passed away,
Right.
and their families come out, and we just celebrate as a community the tragic loss, but yet we also look at the fulfilling closure that our office was able to get for these families. So that's that week. We have an open house on the 12th of April that will be happening at our county complex. Then we'll be having an open house in our DA's office on that same day. We'll be taking small groups for tours to look at our multidisciplinary room. And what that is, it's an interview center that's with specially trained people who sit down in a very quiet room without the barrage of all of our service providers asking them multiple questions and doing multiple interviews. And we have one set of interviews. Everybody else sits in a room but asks questions of the interviewer to then ask the victim, so they're not re-victimized.
Right.
So we'll be displaying all those things the week of April 9th, but not necessarily because I'm running for re-election, but
Right.
certainly every day we are running for re-election because we want to put forth a good service and do good customer service to the people we serve.
And oftentimes, Keith, in the society, the local community and stuff, the DA, it's kind of that shadowy, it's kind of, well, we don't know that we really want to get too close to the DA but it sounds like that you're doing a pretty good outreach into the community.
We are. We try to have at least once a month we do some major public event.
Yeah.
And, I personally will MC just about any event that our community needs. And I personally make phone calls to victims. I try to meet with every single victim that we have who has a deceased family member.
And, for just the local community in general, Keith, what you got coming up with this Victim Month in April is great. But do you have like an ongoing, like, I'm just a parent. I got some kids, sons, daughters, or whatever, and I thought maybe I'd like to take them down. Do you have some way that I can introduce them in a positive manner to the DA's office, DA organization?
You're correct. Unfortunately, if you're not a victim or a defendant, you don't really see the DA's office. And that's a tribute to our community because 90% of the people in our community never come across the DA's office.
Right.
But the positive aspects that we do is we assist our CPS unit every year with our toys for kids and CPS.
Right.
And we make sure that every foster child gets a gift for Christmas and that every foster child, at least the ones that I'm in charge of, we buy suitcases for them too because
Cool.
foster care, sometimes they move them from one place to another in
do.
trash bags, and I just don't like that. So we buy suitcases, we do those things. We also have in fact, I believe it's coming up next week, and I'm drawing a blank on the exact date, unfortunately. West Hills College is sponsoring a Kids Day We bring all the kids from the local elementary out. We show them Dodger, our drug dog, but we also teach them gun safety. We teach them water safety. And we have the whole community, the sheriff and the police departments involved, to just teach kids about safety.
Oh, that's great.
And it's a pretty good event. If you want to just drive down on a Saturday or Sunday, you have to drive down and go to Superior Dairy. That's always our crown jewel. They have the best ice cream you're going to get just about anywhere. And it's in our downtown near our Civic Square. It has our very first courthouse there, which is a phenomenal piece of architecture. So you can make a nice outing of it and go down. And if you want to stop at a dairy or two, there's always a dairy there milking cows.
There you go.
And you'll see a plethora of trees.
Excellent, Keith. How does the local citizenry get a hold of you?
You know, my phone number is plastered just about everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's even on a billboard right on the freeway there, and that's my personal cell phone number. I give that out readily. But you can also go to our website at thecountyofkings.com, and it will lead you to the website for the DA's office. I also have a website, the Fagundes4DA.com,
Right.
which is obviously the campaign website. And there you'll see all the endorsements we had. It's, I think, the first time in the county's history sitting DA received the endorsements of every single police chief, the sheriff, and the congressman, as well as our state senator, and the retired assemblyman. We have the scores of retired public safety. We also received the endorsement from every single police agency's association of officers this go around as well, which is almost unheard of.
Excellent. Sounds like you got a good group of individuals behind you as you move forward.
We do. We have a heck of a team. I'm proud of the team. I'm proud of our accomplishments. And it's pretty phenomenal what happens in our little county.
Very good.
Kings County gets forgotten, but
Keith,
we're happy to be there.
Thank you for being on the show. And thank you as a private citizen for what you're doing.
Thank you for having me.
Good deal. We'll see you when we come back.